Are you tired of feeling lost in life? Are you sick of mindlessly playing around with your friends and wasting your teenage years? Do you feel like there's something greater in life waiting for you, other than the normal path of solely chasing money, chasing these shallow values? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, then this video and the following few episodes will be super helpful for you to begin this journey. And before we get into it, here's a 30-second rundown of my story if you're new here. 3 years ago, when I was 14 years old, I got into this whole hustle culture online business space, self-improvement. And around a year later, after grinding, I scaled my agency to 5 figures MRR. And back then, I remember I felt like I was on the top of the world, especially when I'm the only one in the whole school or even the whole city of Hong Kong to be running such a business at a young age. And then one day, I got to the point where I was like, am I really going to continue doing this in the long run? Is this really the fulfilling work that have been waiting for me my entire life? And then I took some time off and began contemplating deeply in this question. And what I found out at the end was I just decided that it was not it. So then I left my agency and I continued seeking for more to life. And then fast forward to around a year ago, I learned about this concept of self-actualization, which is discovering a way of living from your higher self. And afterwards, I spent the past year, the whole of 2025, just trying to figure things out, learning as much as I can, tweaking my life here and there. And looking back, the results were insane. Like, I have never understood myself in such a deep level, understood others in such a deep way. I also finally felt this deep inner joy when I could start accepting who I am rather than escaping it. And through shedding off all of these social conditioning and these external BS that I have to deal with every single day, I had a better clue of genuinely what I wanted and who this person was on the inside. So what I want to do here is to help you do the same, because speaking from a perspective of a teenager, I really want to help you out there, another fellow teenager, to discover this joy and this beauty of living from higher consciousness, from living with amazing values, because it is just unexplainable. And one of the things that I noticed with this space is that there are so many adults who are dominating with creators talking about this, talking about that. But then there are really just no teenage creators who is sharing these perspectives on living a positive and visionary life, right? A lot of people that you've watched out there are people who are spreading negative content. And the problem with talking about our generation being flawful and this being the problem, that being chaotic, is that once you continue to consume these information in a negative lens, you start to embody that in your own entire life. You start to embody this negative energy and you go into this whole rabbit hole of feeling depressed and feeling unfortunate about things, when in reality, there's two ways into looking at it. You could look at it in a negative way or you could look at it in a positive way. And that would dictate whether or not you're going to be successful in this one life that you're given. And it's pretty funny because the other day I was having this same conversation with a close friend who used to go to the same school as me. So a bit of context. He now lives in Canada, and I remember back in 8th grade, we were like the weirdos in the school talking about Adonis routine and watching self-improvement videos together during breaks. And whenever someone came over and they're like, oh, why are you watching this? Or they just don't understand, you know what I mean? And then I managed to reconnect with him through Google Meets, and then we began talking about this concept of life purpose. And really credits to him because he asked many interesting and deep questions with this topic, which I wrote down after our conversation. So what I'm planning to do with this video is explain the concept of life purpose through answering the questions he was asking, so then you can also get a better idea of life purpose, which probably answers some of the questions that you have. And by the end of this video, you'll also be able to know whether or not you're currently living aligned with your life purpose, so then we can start making adjustments as needed later on. So let's get started. What are some frequently asked questions of life purpose from a teenager's perspective, right? The first question, which is pretty common and I hear many people talking about it, is how do I find what I'm meant to do in life? And what if I never find it? And I think the first part of this question is the question that so many people struggle with. They think that there's going to be this crazy external system, or they think that's something that you have to be lucky to be born into your life purpose with, someone who's super talented, stuff like that. There's just so many different explanations, but it really is simpler than what you think it is. How we can find what we want to do in life is first by understanding ourselves, understanding who we are on the inside. I know this may sound pretty cliche, but just keep listening because I'm going to literally show you exactly what you need to do. And most likely when you're watching this video, the reason why you're trying to find your life purpose is because you're confused on who your authentic self is on the inside. And that means that you're not feeling fulfilled with the things that you're doing. So what you need to do is find the things that makes you feel fulfilled. And ironically, what gives you the deepest joy is the things that comes natural to you. So start asking the question, what comes natural to you, right? That's the thing that we need to figure out through looking inwards rather than so much outwards. The reason why we need to look inwards is because you can see that different things fulfill different people differently. Right, so the activities that fulfill you may not fulfill me in the same way. So let's say you were to rank the amount of joys that you get from different activities from 1 to 10. So let's say we're going to take swimming and eating sushi as an example. If you were to sit down and really think deeply about how fulfilled you are on a scale of 1 to 10, most likely you're going to be giving a different number for swimming and eating sushi, right? So using this example for myself, I would say swimming gives me a fulfillment level of 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. And the main reason for that is because I get a strong burst of energy. I feel super excited whenever I swim in the morning. And on the other hand, activities like eating sushi, or I would say like eating in general, it gives me a fulfillment level of, let's say 5 to 6 out of 10. I'm not really a huge foodie, and as long as I'm eating something healthy, then I don't really mind it. So now from this conclusion, what you can do is you can find out the different set of unique activities that you love on a level 9 or on a level 10. So then you can expand and spend more time with those activities rather than doing activities that gives you less satisfaction, right? And if you zoom out to this ties to the whole concept of values. And a value is something that is naturally part of you. It's a thing that makes you you. It's the thing that makes you feel unique. And if you really find energy and joy from swimming, for example, most likely you also have the value of physical activity. So going back to the question, how to find what you're meant to do in life, the answer is to find these list of values that you have. Find these things that you rate a fulfillment level of 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10. And one common misunderstanding that I see people fall into whenever I run them through these value exercise is that they think that their list of values is a one-time thing that doesn't change. They always assume that once you have this list of values, it dictates the rest of your life, right? But can't you see how flawed this is? Because the whole fundamental universe is run on evolution. You're evolving every single minute. If you think about the Earth itself for a second, Earth is evolving over time, right? Everything around you is evolving over time in different ways, in different forms. So then you can't assume that the values that you came up with back when you're 7 years old compared to the values that you have right now as a teen is the exact same. Because you have more experience, you try different things from different places, which makes you an evolved being. And now you may say, well, if my values are going to change, then what's the point of finding them in the first place? What's the point of pinpointing them, right? And I'm glad you asked, because even though these values change, you have to see that they do not change significantly. They change in different forms, but then the fundamentals of those values are still there, right? That's one of the most beautiful things in life, is that there's just things that belongs to you deep inside that no one can take away from you. And these are called your core values. You have a unique personality and a set of values that you live by. And most likely these values are going to remain the same for the rest of your lives. So let me give you an example to help ground things a little bit. For example, one of my core values is self-regulation. So what do I mean by self-regulation? I know I'm a person who loves to have a schedule and have a routine to follow, since it makes me feel super calm and always ready to put full energy to whatever I do, no matter if it's recording videos or going for a swim or going to school in general. And surprisingly, this is something that just comes natural to me. Like whenever someone asks me how I come up with a schedule, I just feel like, it's something common sense. Like, is it really something that you have to learn? And then I reverse engineer and start thinking back to my childhood, and I realized that I've been doing that since I was 8 years old. Like I remember my first calendar, it wasn't a digital calendar, but then I had this unique timetable which I created using paper, and I just penciled in all of the different things I was going to do, right? Like a to-do list. And that automatically flowed with me during my life. So now once I've identified that, using this information, you can now see how easy it is for you to make certain decisions when you need to, right? So since I know that I have the value of self-regulation, I'll take advantage of this and do something that's more self-driven and independent, because I know that this is a skill that comes naturally to me. I don't need to rely on some kind of external system. It's one of my core values. I find joy in setting deadlines and building systems, which encourages me to implement them in my life. So by knowing that I have this value, I can now incorporate this aspect when I'm thinking about life purpose and what my life's work is, right? It's probably going to have to do something with, schedules and setting routines for different things. So in summary, how do you find what you're meant to do? The first step is to derive these inner values that comes naturally to you. Values that are already imprinted when you're born. And then afterwards, using these values, you build your life purpose and your life's work around them, so then you can maximize feeling joyful and fulfilled. And really, if you see it in this way, it's not rocket science, right? So many people are overcomplicating it with this system and that system. You have to do this and you have to do that. But at the end of the day, there's no right answer. And the only right answer is what you genuinely feel on the inside, which gives you fulfillment and gives you joy. And you have to discover that. So going back to the question, answering the second part of it, what if I never find it? What if I never find my life purpose? Well, if you now understand that life purpose just means living aligned with your values, living in your authentic nature and being, then fulfillment will come to you naturally. And most likely, this question of what if I never find my life purpose ties to the deeper question of what if I can never find myself? And really the answer boils down to 3 scenarios. Scenario A, you're not being authentic enough to yourself, meaning that you still feel insecure in some areas of your life. And in that case, I will highly recommend you to watch my video on releasing this insecurity, where I guide you through an in-depth hour-long exercise to release these past scars so then you can liberate yourself from them. And then you also have scenario B, where you have a rough idea of what gives you that deep fulfillment in life, but then you just don't know how to get there. You just don't know what steps are needed. And if you're in this category, this video is perfect for you, because I'm going to show you exactly how you can practically pin them down rather than leave them hanging in your head. And finally, you also have scenario C, where you think that you need more life experience. And the reason why I left this option for last is because if you really feel like you're someone who's been, just staying at home and half-assing life and not have done anything at all, or at least, don't have a single clue of what your hobbies are, most likely your mind is either making an excuse to you right now, or there's just some deeper self-esteem issue that you need to release first, which then I highly recommend you to also watch my vision video, where I inspire you to live a greater life, and also this trauma release video, which I've mentioned in scenario A. And in any case, no matter if you're situation A, B, or C, the vision video will always get you inspired to live this higher life. So I'll link all of that in the description. So the second most common question that people ask about life purpose is, what if humans have no set life purpose? Whenever someone asks me this, I really like to start off with a question that gets them thinking. So let me ask you the same question that I asked them as well. What's the difference between humans and animals? And it's not a trick question, right? Just state the obvious. Humans can think, animals can't. I mean, humans can play Clash Royale, but then animals can't. And you probably heard the saying from some people that humans are more superior than animals. Not saying I completely agree with that, but one of the arguments to back this claim is that humans are more intelligent because we can consciously think. And unlike animals who doesn't have the power to create something great and have a vision. And another reason is that we humans feel on the inside that there is something more noble, something more aspirational, something that we strive towards. And if you name any noble figures you're inspired by, you can see what I mean, right? Let's just take, for example, Mr. Beast. You know, he's someone who's been super aspirational for me during a period of my life, and also for many people with the philanthropy and the things that he do. And of course, he's gone through some heated debates in the past, but in general, we can all agree that he's someone who's driven by this deep sense of purpose. As from early on, he identified his love and passion to create videos, and then went full speed ahead on his vision, helping the world and those that are less fortunate. You know, building schools and doing all of these great things. So back to the question. It's really BS to say that humans have no life purpose, because it's saying the same thing as humans are not human, and there's nothing that fulfills you. But is that really true? Does nothing really fulfill you? And if the answer is yes to this question right now, you're probably at a stage where you need to just keep trying things and be more aware of what gives you that burst of joy and energy. Be more aware, be more conscious, just pay attention to these things. And do we have a set life purpose? Is there something that's defined for you, waiting for you to discover and do? And it sounds like saying yes would be awesome, but then the reality is no. There's no such thing as a set life purpose that you have to follow. But then what we can do is show you the frameworks that gets you started in the right direction, and then over time you'll refine your life purpose and get more aligned with things that makes you feel fulfilled. And anyone out there telling you that you have a set life purpose probably is selling you a course or just don't know what they're saying. And even for tools like astrology, human design, gene keys, fortune tellers, and all of these mysterious tools, right? They're useful in the way in giving you the frameworks of which direction to follow. And ultimately, you are the master of your life. You are the master of your life. And that may sound scary at first, but it's also where all of the beauty comes when you really discover who you really are. So the third most common question with life purpose is, what if my life purpose isn't what I really wanted to do? And really there are just two simple words to this question, which is you adjust. The only person stopping you from creating the life that you want is your mind. Are you strong enough to cut through all of the bullshit and excuses that's feeding you so you can start being the driver and taking control of life? Are you willing to unlearn the beliefs that you have and approach life with an open mind? At the end of the day, there's really no one stopping you except for you trying something new. And most likely there's some sort of fear or deconditioning that we have to do first to help you release your mind from all of these junky beliefs. For example, just by asking the question of, what if I don't succeed? What if this is going to happen? You're already thinking about the negative scenarios, right? What if I fail? What if I don't get joy? What if this is a bad thing that's not going to happen? And what you end up doing is, because when you start having these negative worries in your mind, you begin to attract these worries into your life. So in the process of finding your life purpose, if all you do is question the process and whether or not you have the right purpose, you're doing it completely wrong, because there's no such thing as a set life purpose. It evolves over time, just as human evolves, right? Just as the earth evolves. And life purpose is more about the journey itself, the journey of fulfillment and living aligned with your higher self. And what we'll do over time is help you adjust this list of values as you progress in different stages of life, so you get a better compass and understanding of yourself. And no worries if you're someone who's still a bit confused here or feels super pessimistic about finding your inner self right now, because I will be doing a more in-depth videos with all of these concepts in the upcoming few episodes. And I'll share with you a variety of tools that you can try to help find your life purpose. And what we'll do is we're going to hit it in multiple different angles. So if one doesn't work for you, no worries. There's always going to be an alternative, which eventually one of them or two of them will suit you. So question number 4, how do you find your life purpose when you're always busy? And this is one of my favorite questions because people always ask me this as well. How do you get the time to do this along with your studies in school? And to answer that, I've created a separate video explaining how I managed to create time to run at 1.3 different businesses while taking one of the most rigorous high school programs in the world. So I'll link that in the card right now. And the sneak peek to this video is it's not one of your typical I'll show you my calendar video or 5 life hacks for productivity video. And I'm pretty sick of those videos as well. Some of them doesn't work, some of them do work, but most of them doesn't work. What I actually do is run you through a step-by-step understanding of the universal frameworks behind these systems. So then you can use these frameworks to adapt to your own situation because you are unique. No one can tell you exactly what's going to work for you. You have to figure it out yourself. So question number 5. Let's say I do find my life purpose early on. What's next? Nothing? Well, when you have these frameworks of life purpose, what you have to do is, of course, you have to apply it to your life and take action. And this process that you'll see is a balance of action and contemplation. And most likely, if you're probably like my previous self 1 year ago when I started this journey, you've probably taken a lot of action and tried this and that. So what we'll need to do is to balance that and look back at the experiences and see what hints you get on making you fulfilled. But most importantly, after you learn about these frameworks, what separates the 10% of people that succeed and the 90% of people who fail is whether or not you take action and apply them to your life. Because if you do so, I promise you that you'll see great transformation in your life. Because you're going to be starting to see areas of yourself which you've never discovered before, while accumulating joy and acceptance with who you are rather than hating yourself all the time. And one last thing, right? I cannot stress more enough to tell you that life purpose is a journey. Life purpose is not a destination that you find. It's a process where you grow and learn more about yourself and use your natural gifts to contribute to the world. It's a journey where you live a life that's natural to you, that feels authentic to you, while shedding off all of these conditioning from society that's really hurting you in the long run. And again, there's no end goal with life purpose. It could be different for you, it could be different for me and for your friends. And I know how confusing it can be because in a world where we're filled with metrics and external numbers, like when you say someone isn't officially a millionaire, right? That's because they crossed the 1 million mark in their bank account. But with life purpose, it's not like once you have it, then you're done with it. It's instead a commitment to this journey of living from your higher self and to gradually improve every single day step by step, building self-love while discovering yourself and doing meaningful work with joy and enjoying the journey along the way. So I hope this clarifies your understanding of life purpose because it's very important to get this fundamental right in the beginning of your journey. So wrapping up this video, in the next few videos we'll be diving deeper into helping you find these values and really understand the different types of values and what it means to integrate them in your lives. And I really can't wait to keep sharing these fundamental wisdoms that I really believe every single teenager out there and everyone in the world needs to start living in and start implementing in their lives. So I'll see you soon.